In Module 2, you're going to be learning how to create frequency distributions and histograms, other tables and graphs as well. So in Module 2, Lesson 1, the first thing that they want you to do is they want you to know how to create a frequency table. In this frequency table, they give you the data over here on the top right. Now the first thing that you want to do with this data is I want to show you how to use Statcrunch to help you analyze this data and complete your frequency table. To get this into Statcrunch, what you're going to do is over here there's a little rectangle that you're going to click on and it'll say Open in Statcrunch. Go ahead and do that. Click on Open in Statcrunch. If that doesn't work the first time, you might want to try again. But in this case, it loaded just fine for me. Now once you got the data loaded in the Statcrunch, what's going to be helpful is to get the data in order from the smallest value to the largest value. In other words, in ascending order. To do that, you click Data, Sort, select the column that you want. You want to sort by the variable 1 in ascending order. That means it goes from smallest to largest. And we'll replace that current column. That just gets it in order from smallest to largest. Same data set, but just in order. So our smallest value is 0, our largest value is 29. The next thing that we want to make note of is we want to make note of the class width. The class width is determined by how many classes that they want us to create. Let's go back and take a look. They want us to create 5 classes. So to get the class width here, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take the smallest value minus the largest value and divide by 5 because they want 5 classes. So let's go back and see the smallest value, 0. Sorry, the largest value minus the smallest value. So 29 minus 0. 29 minus 0 is 29 divided by 5. Let's see what we got there. 29 minus 0, that's the largest minus the smallest, is 29, divided by, they want 5 classes, 5.8. And you always want to round that up. So in this case, they want 6 classes. So we're just going to make a note of that. Keep that in your mind. Now what we're going to do is use Statcrunch to help us. You'll want to go to Graph, and then go to Histogram. Select variable 1, but then we want to create these bins. And the bins need to start at your smallest value, and then remember what the width was? It was 6. Something else we're going to do is on top of our histogram bars, we want to display the value on top of the bars. And it will display the frequency first, but then we'll come back and change it to something else later. Hit Compute. And that's going to be really helpful. That will tell us where every class starts. And you know where the class ends by taking where the class starts minus 1. So in this case, my first class goes from 0 to 5. So it goes from 0 to 5. And then the frequency should have been right on top of that bar. Frequency was 6. The midpoint is just the average of the lower and upper bounds of the class. So take these two numbers, add them together, and divide by 2 to find the average. 0 plus 5 is 5, divided by 2 is 2.5. It's the average of those two values. Next, the relative frequency. Statcrunch can help you with that. Go to the histogram, hit Options, Edit, and instead of frequency, change it to relative frequency. The relative frequency is 0.3. 0.3. The cumulative frequency will be the frequency for the first one, and then later we'll have to add up all of the previous frequencies. But the first one, it's just 6. Now remember where the next one starts. It starts at 6. That's the next number up from 5. And it ends at 1 less than what it says on our histogram. So in this case, it stops at, this is where our third one starts. So the second one stops at 11. The frequency there, I remember, was 0. There wasn't anything in there. The midpoint, average those up. What's 11 plus 6? 11 plus 6 is 17. 17 divided by 2 is 8.5 is the midpoint. It's the average of the lower and upper bounds of the class. The relative frequency, that's also 0 since there was no frequency. And the cumulative frequency is all the frequencies added up. We only had one previous frequency, which was 6. Okay. Gotta be careful there. Remember, the midpoint was 8.5, not 8.8. The third one starts at 12. Ended at 1 less than that, so it ends at 17. The frequency will be on top of the bar. Make sure it's frequency, not relative frequency. So in that case, it's 5. The midpoint is the average between the lower and upper class. So in this case, 12 plus 17 gives me 29. Divide that by 2 to find the average is 14.5. The relative frequency, thank you Statcrunch, I'll get it. Relative frequency is 0.25. Cumulative frequency in this case is going to give me the frequency that I have already plus that previous cumulative frequency. So I got 5 in this class, and then we had 6 previously, so that gives me 11. May as well finish it up, right? So it's 18 and 23. There I got the cumulative frequency is 0.2, so I'll remember that. But the frequency is 4. Might not be a bad idea just to write it down so you don't have to keep toggling it back and forth. 4, the cumulative frequency was 0.2. I know that I just add 4 to this, so that's going to be 15. My midpoint is the average between the lower and upper bounds on the class. 18 plus 23 average together. Add them together, divide by 2 is 20.5. 20.5. And then last one. The frequency is 5, but it runs from 18 to 23. Already got 18 and 23. So it's going to run 24 to 29. 24 to 29. The frequency was 5, I believe. And the relative frequency was 0.25. Cumulative frequency, I'm going to take 15, that's the previous one, plus 5, that's 20. The midpoint is the average between 24 and 29. So 24 plus 29, divide that by 2, I get 26.5. All right, hopefully that will allow you to get familiar with Statcrunch and create the table more efficiently.